right, welcome to the RHL podcast. Roll with it. Week number 2. I'm here joined today by a very special guest, Joung Lee from two teams actually. That's what she said. And little big man Jung, welcome to the show.
Hey, Suds, thanks so much for having me. A tremendous honor to be on the second ever podcast for RHL.
Well, the honor is actually all ours. You're a tremendous player, and to get you on the show to give your thoughts about the league and about the players in general is a great opportunity for us. So we couldn't miss that. I'm going to change the format here a little bit here because Jung plays in both division, folks. He's going to actually go through a quick interview with us and get to know who Jung is, and then we're going to go through the games from last week, just do a quick recap and get Jung's thought on the divisions as well too. And that's how we're going to play this week around. So let's start actually with Jung, the person. I've always mispronounced your name from day one. So, tell me how you pronounce Joung Lee. Is it actually Jung as it's written? Because I just had the silent J or the silent O. Tell me how you pronounce it.
Sure. It's the story of my life, so I'm quite used to it at this point.
Share it.
But the easiest way to say it is like the word young. It rhymes with young, but with the J sound, like the hard J. So it's just Jung. That's it. So not like some, Scandinavian Jung or Joung or John. It's Jung. That's it. You got it.
Terrific. Now, Jung, I met you through ball hockey, actually. You played ball hockey. I think you played at Sidwell, if I remember correctly, and you played a couple of times in our league as well, too, way back when. Tell me about how you found us through ball hockey first and then your transition to roller.
Sure. So I think it was actually a coworker at my office here, not Toby Muse
right.
at RHL, but from many years ago at this point, that he just started playing at that Sidwell group. So I did that for a few years. And then I think when Suds, you organized that, I think the pickup game out at Germantown one time.
Yes.
Maybe it was a tournament or something.
Yes.
I participated in that, and it's just been a lot of fun kind of discovering the whole ball hockey community. On the roller hockey side, it's something that I've played ever since I was in middle school.
Really? Okay.
Really something that's just been a big part of my life, and played. I guess when I was last time I really played, in a league setting was the Philadelphia Collegiate Roller Hockey League. So my graduate school, or I was at the University of Pennsylvania, and they had a club team that played in that circuit. And that was a puck league over at Marple Arena, and there's a lot of roller games taking place there. But ever since then, it's just been a lot of kind of pickup roller hockey around the scene here in the DC area. The White House group is really just.
I've heard of that. Yes.
In addition to the setting, great bunch of guys.
I heard there's also a pickup there, right? So they'll pick up there, the White House group on the lawn or somewhere on certain nights. If I recall correctly, Jason Lopez, who plays for Puck Buddies in the Ball Hockey League, mentioned that a couple of times as well too.
Okay.
Do you play in that pickup group?
So I played there since I came back to the DC area after I grew up here. I moved around a little bit, but back in 2007 I came back and then played pretty much, all the time until I had my kids and just really limited my ability to engage in hockey as much as I'd like to. But that White House game's been going on since 1995, right on Pennsylvania Avenue. So long tradition there.
Terrific. Now, hold on. I'm getting some spam blockers here, so I'm trying to get you back on my screen here, and get you back here. If I can, let's see here. If I hit this button here, apologize. There we go. Now we're back up your line here. This is not the key laptop we use here, so we get a lot of spam going through here. So I'll make sure I tap that out there. Now, in terms of roller in general, from a standpoint of between ice hockey and roller, are you mostly a roller player, and did you play ice at all?
Just a little bit of ice here and there. Back in like high school, did a little bit of it. But I have to admit that even between ice and roller, the skating is quite different with the blades versus the wheels. And so I've just always been a lot more comfortable on the wheel side. And so roller is what I've typically stuck with, but still occasionally do pick up ice hockey here and there. I know a lot of the guys at RHL actually do the dual kind of track, a lot of ice hockey as well as roller, even like same nights, which I find to be quite incredible.
Terrific. Now let's talk about you played roller, you played ball, and this question I ask everybody, whether you play goalie or play out. Difference between playing ball hockey and roller hockey. Obviously, one's on blades and one's with a puck and one's with the ball on the foot. Tell me the differences and how, as a player, you can differentiate between both games and what's more difficult, what's easier to compensate.
Sure. I mean, I find it to be, frankly, much harder on floor hockey side because you really have to have greater stamina to be able to do the kinds of quick sprints and bursts. And I think because, everybody can stop on a dime, and that's something that you don't necessarily see in roller hockey. It's a lot, just, I think, a tighter game on the floor hockey side, where just that ability to react instantly is even more important than it is on the roller side. And then the dynamics between the puck and the ball, a little bit different. I think you can do some pretty crazy dekes with the ball, perhaps a little bit harder with the puck. But I think it just adds, different flavors in the two kind of different approaches there.
Now, the one thing that people tell me and goalies tell me is obviously with the ball can dip and curve. Right. With a puck, it's a lot more straight, so goalies have an issue, playing ball because the ball does dip in that regards. And also, as a floor player, for roller versus blade, roller versus was ball, is the fact that you use different muscle groups. So when you skate, using different muscle groups, obviously when you're rolling, and then when you're playing ball hockey, you're running. So is fatigue? You mentioned, is fatigue a much more bigger factor in ball than in roller?
Definitely. It makes sense that you have the kind of bigger rosters you do for ball compared to roller. We've done Ironman, just 4 skaters, whole game. You can't pull that off, I think, in the ball hockey setting. And I also add that even between puck roller and then puck ice hockey, there's a distinction. I personally, I'm not a big guy, pretty skinny, so I don't have like much of a shot really, even on roller, but especially on ice, the puck is even more, got mass to it. And I find that, like, when you are even receiving some, like, crisp passes, you really have to hold your stick firm and tightly on ice because of the weight of the puck hitting your blade to really, handle it. Whereas on roller, the puck is lighter than the ice puck, so that also then contributes to a little bit different dynamics.
Awesome. Now let's talk about your experience with the RHL, our roller league. You've been playing it now for a while. I believe you joined us when we moved to puck. Is that correct?
Yep, that's right.
And you've been playing. We've gone through some changes up and down. Different divisions, different talent coming in. Have a steady core now. Tell me about the league and what you like about it, and the things you like, and always look to improve. So tell me some things that you want to change, or about you to make a change for as well too.
Sure. I think in terms of just having the opportunity to do some organized roller hockey in the area, first and foremost, I really appreciate kind of the just what it takes to just set that thing up in the first place that you've done, Suds. And I think over the last few years, especially as I mentioned a little bit earlier, I got a 4-year-old and a 2-year-old, and then another baby coming on the way in February. Thank you. Mm-hmm. So Monday night has really been like my designated hockey outlet. It's finally gotten to the point where everybody at my house, like, they know Monday night, the dad's going to be gone doing hockey thing, and opportunity to just get the hockey fix on a regular basis has been great. But also, I could just tell how much work you put into it. So it's to make it really gel and to make it really interesting in terms of just the kinds of details that, the website with all the stat keeping that you do. And I know it's always pulling teeth to kind of find the scorers and things like that when you're trying to do the recording and everything else that you're involved with running a league. But just the amount of organization and thought that's put into it is something that I really appreciate and haven't really seen in any other kind of, more of a recreational kind of setup. And I think, I'm certainly not alone in that sentiment.
Well, thank you for that. And now, obviously, looking to improve. What areas can we improve on? We always ask that question. That's within our control. There's things certainly not within our control. Obviously, the floor and some of the plex issues are not within our control. But what can we change that are within our control? Do you think?
Honestly, the stuff that you can't change. The rink itself is just not like the ideal, roller rink, and that it's doesn't have kind of the regulation.
We don't benches.
Boards.
Yeah,
so,
we
right.
don't benches.
The corners are just kind of strange. So I get that. Obviously, not much we can do there. But in terms of the in game, I mean, it's a very good, like, classic roller hockey fair. I mean, I don't think you have any rules that you wouldn't see anywhere else. Maybe if you introduce like the carrying the puck across the center red line as an offside mechanism to avoid some of the cherry picking. I mean, but that's still at the margins, I'd have to say. And then maybe like this most recent game that we had, I think, or I played a couple times this past Monday, and one of the games, like, bunch of goals went like under the goal.
Right.
So maybe just, I don't know, looking at more heavy-duty goals, but then that just is more pain to like drag them in and out, from other uses. So
that goal is an issue that we can easily resolve. It's our goals have kind of got it warped, so if we basically get sandbox or sandpaper and pop that and take care of that. So that's something we're working on. So I'm glad you brought that up. As far as the offsides, we've talked about that in the Board of Governors, many times.
Yeah.
And players want to cherry pick. They like the goal scoring, so it's not voted in, but we'll bring it up again to see. I think maybe a center line offside would be a good idea. For you have plenty of space to make that work, in my personal opinion. We're just gonna have people sign on to it, so we'll ask for a vote again and see what that happens. But good idea. We'll double check that as well too. Let's then talk about in terms of who Jung Lee is before we get to the actual division games. Some recap from last week. We are currently heading into week 7 of 8 next Monday night before playoffs resume for us. Jung Lee, the person. You said you've got 3 kids, 4, 2, and 1 coming as well too. What do you do for a living, Jung?
So I do transportation policy on Capitol Hill. So I'm at a trade association trying to find ways to invest in our transportation infrastructure by working with Congress and the executive branch, principally on highways, like the interstate highways, but all the major highways, but all forms of transportation, transit systems, bicycle, pedestrian, facilities, freight facilities, and the like.
Awesome, terrific. And are you a DC, born and bred in DC? You just transplant here, or you're?
So I actually was born and raised in Seoul, South Korea, until I was 10, and then had a quick stint for like a year in New Hampshire, and then really grew up in Fairfax County, in Northern Virginia. And I went to college at the University of Virginia, so it stayed kind of local. But then after that, I moved around all over for about 5 years or so before settling back here in the DC area, because I wanted to obviously be near my family, but also do like the national transportation policy stuff that I've been doing.
Awesome. Yeah. So similar story. I was born in Myanmar, Burma, for the first 10 years. I moved down here when I was 10 years old. So similar story.
I didn't know you were also like exactly 10.
Yeah, exactly. At 19, I mean, I'm a lot older than you are, but that was back
not
in
much older.
Now let's talk about I love hockey in general. Okay, ice hockey, NHL. Okay, I believe you're a Toronto Maple Leafs fan. Is that correct?
A big-time Maple Leafs fan, yep. I got into it back in the early 90s when I was just learning English, right? The language, and absorbing like all sorts of media. And one happened to be the World Series in 92-93 season when the Blue Jays won. And so just somehow glommed onto Toronto. And then once I started playing hockey, got really into the Maple Leafs and just have held ever since. And people ask, "Oh, are you from Toronto?" It's like, absolutely not. Just totally random. No connection.
Yeah. Okay, Toronto. Obviously, we have a link here because Toronto knew I'm an Islanders fan. So, the link is John Tavares. I call him Pajama Boy now. So, Pajama Boy signed left the Islanders and signed a long-term contract with Toronto. Toronto's already loaded with some good young talent: Austin Matthews, Mitch Marner, and the team is now one of the favorites to win the cup. Your thoughts on the Toronto Maple Leafs, and can they pull it off? And would John Tavares put you over the top, or do you still think you have other issues to work on to get you to the promised land?
I think for Toronto, they just get so excited with any level of success, and kind of the long-running joke, I think, is that even if you win like one game in the playoffs, they'll start planning the parade down Yonge Street.
Oh, Washington Cap, I get it. Okay, Washington Capitals, got it. All right.
Yeah. I mean, but the distinction is that it's been, I guess at this point, 51 years, for the Toronto Maple Leafs. So they, I think,
Wow.
have the longest drought, other than like obviously expansion teams that haven't won. So I mean, this is good of a window that they are able to find themselves in a very long time. But Matthews is out for a month or so. Willie Nylander is first
Still a holdout, right?
and he's holding out for a different deal. And then the goaltending, I've never been quite sold on Freddie Anderson, and I feel like that's always been a bit of a case, really back to when we had Curtis Joseph back in the late 90s, early 2000s. He stole games.
Yes.
I haven't seen any of the goalies really stealing games since then. And there was like a horrendous stretch where they traded away like Tuukka Rask to Boston in order to get what's his name? He won the Calder, but I forget the name already. But I mean, he was terrible. And so Anderson, I think, perhaps could get us there, but the defense, just in general, I still have some qualms about.
That's the question. Obviously, Toronto will add more goal scoring, but the goal scoring wasn't the issue. The issue was going to be defensive goaltending. Do you think they've done enough to compensate? Because in playoffs, it's all about defensive goaltending. Do you think they have enough to make a run?
Man, I don't know. I mean, I think Jay Gardner is a very streaky player where he can be really look like Paul Coffey one moment and then just cough up some really terrible, goals. And Morgan Riley is definitely getting only better, but really beyond that, I don't know if they have enough kind of balance of the offensive, D-men plus not even the stay-at-home types, but just solid Marc-Edouard Vlasic in San Jose type to be able to balance things out a little bit.
That's a good point. Now, it's ironic, when you play in our league, you actually wear an Islander jersey. You have how'd you get that? How did that happen?
So that thing is you can tell by the vintage, right? There was late 90s. So
yes.
I was just playing in an ice hockey league in Fairfax, I think, during maybe a summer or winter, when I was off from college. And they just happened to adopt that Islanders jersey. Everybody got their name and number printed in the back. I was like, okay, that's fine. I'll get one.
That's awesome. That's terrific. And you play. You're one of the teams you play for. Yes, are you still playing on Little Big Men? I believe. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Okay. Your captain is Craig Stent, who's a big Honors fan.
Right.
So you both have Honor jerseys, which is kind of cool to see that as well too. So nice dynamic there. Now, we'll stop talking ice hockey, but I'm waiting. Waiting to see when John Tavares comes to Brooklyn. Should be an interesting game when he comes back home and we play in Toronto. So that should be an interesting new rivalry between the Odds and Toronto Maple Leafs. Well, now just about you in general. To get the same question I asked previous guest, I'll ask you as well too. Some quick hitters.
Sure.
To get to know you. Early bird or late night worm?
It used to be late night, but after the kids thing, early bird now. Also complemented by 3 cups of coffee by 11 a.m.
It's gotta survive, right? Gotta survive. Okay, Coke or Pepsi?
Diet Coke, but trying to be better about it and just cut all that stuff out altogether.
Yep. No, I neither prefer, but if you have to, you said Diet Coke.
Right.
Okay, I'll make it 3-part: beer, wine, or alcohol, or mixed drinks when you drink.
Probably beer. Yeah.
Is your favorite brand?
That's easy. I've always been not into the fancy microbrews and a lot of hoppy stuff. So just the stuff that's really light. My wife is from St. Louis, so I've adopted Bud Light. That's my thing. And then, but also, Molson Canadian, being a Canadian hockey fan, you see the Molson stuff everywhere when you watch the games up there, right? So we took a family trip to Montreal a month ago or so and got a case of Molson Canadian on the way back, near the upstate, New York, the south of Montreal. So enjoying that. But yeah, stuff like that.
And one last question: rice or pasta? How about that? Being an Asian myself, you always, I grew up with rice, being an Indian person, but Americans are more pasta based. But your thoughts on that? Which one would you prefer?
Growing up in Korea, I used to actually just take the Korean food for granted, and kimchi was the grossest thing, and just really didn't appreciate it at all. But as I get older, I really have been going back to that stuff. And in fact, I had like bibimbap for lunch today with like the kimchi and the Korean, the red sauce and whatnot. So definitely rice. I was going to ask you, so it's like, do you get the chance to be able to kind of cook your, I guess, native cuisine?
Yeah, I grew up Burmese/Indian, so I got the Burmese Indian mix in there. So rice is more preferred, and I'm just used to rice. So usually it's rice for me than pasta, and usually it's more vegetables. My mom made vegetables a lot, so mostly vegetables and rice than pasta for us in general.
So do you have you been following especially closely on the whole Rohingya like situation? And
I moved out. We moved out in 1980 because of communism took over at that point. So my dad had his import-export business pretty much seized by the government. So we moved here back in 1980. I really haven't kept up. I know that that just recently the Democratic movement moved back in. Is that correct? If I recall correctly, it's like 2 years ago. The person who was imprisoned was
Aung San Suu Kyi.
Yes, she was let go.
The symbol of whatever the democratic reform.
Yes, she's back out. So I know there's been change there, but I really haven't followed up yet. I do remember, I was 10 years old when I left, so I remember that my best memory of Burma, I call it Burma, is the pagodas, the golden pagodas,
Right.
And the fresh meat, the chicken and shrimp there was just so divine that adjusting the food here was a pain when I moved down here because that chicken tasted awful for the first 3 or 4 years.
Right.
Farm fresh chicken.
Processed stuff.
Processed stuff. Yeah. And the jumbo shrimp this large, jumbo shrimps, fresh. So those were very good. So those are my best impression. And of course the Buddhist temples and the pagodas. So I mean that was my best memory of Myanmar from that standpoint. Maybe we'll go back, but I don't know how that's going to play. I'm not a big flyer, so we'll see how it plays out.
Right.
Let's talk about well, we're going to segue back into RHL here. You are one of our top scorers, dynamic scorer, and you brought in Toby, who's your teammate, who's your coworker actually, to play in this league as well too. And you two make a dynamic tandem when you guys play together on certain teams. But you've become one of our top dynamic scorers. Tell me, for someone just starting in roller hockey, or someone just maybe transitioning from ball to roller, tell me the skill set that you think you need to be a dynamic playmaker or scorer in roller.
So, by the way, I mean, thanks for the very kind, description of my game, but it's definitely not anywhere near like the good players that are playing in RHL.
Well, I think you're one of the top players. My personal opinion. So I disagree. I think you're one of the top players. So you deserve that honor. But tell me your thoughts.
Sure. So I think in terms of roller hockey, a lot of it is, and frankly, I mean, I struggle with it all the time, is positioning. You see the elite players that are able to really kind of expend the energy only as necessary. And as I get older, I really appreciate that, like, hey, you can be more judicious in how you kind of, use your burst of speed for certain plays and just be in the right place to be able to make the passes, receive passes, or, get a rebound and things like that. So it's hard to describe. I don't know if there's this is the, how to steps like 1 through 5 of being
right.
Able to find the right positioning. But I think it's just a general
speed
awareness.
I'm sorry, you were saying speed and positioning are the 2 key points. Be able to get into position and having speed to get the position is the key. It's the key to be a dynamic scorer. Is that correct?
I think that just innate sense of positioning, and then obviously the faster you are, in that I think you are able to kind of get the skating down. That is just tremendous help, obviously. And then I would also say, and I alluded to it a little bit earlier, stopping on rollerblades just isn't something that I feel like is something that everybody can do. Just like I mentioned on like ball hockey, where you just
Correct.
stop running. And so I think if you're able to find a way to do kind of quick pivot movements and stops and things like that, that can really throw opposing players off. And that's something that I certainly rely on to the extent, whenever I can.
Do you believe that skating is more important than actual skill set? To be able to skate and be able to stop quickly as possible will give you more of an advantage than being a great scorer, great shooter, or a great puck handler?
You obviously need like the full complement. But I think in order to be able to, just generate chances in the first place, you have to be able to skate. You have to be able to obviously get the puck out or be able to be in a position to receive it. But to finish the play, it's one thing to start up a play, but to actually finish it in a way it ends up in a goal, in the goal. I mean, you've got to have the shooting skills. And I've seen some, I think like Kevin on the That's What She Said team that I'm on in D1. I mean, he's got the snipers shot like every time. And, when you got a shot like that, then, and Toby too, he has a really fantastic shot. Then obviously you can finish the plays the way.
Yeah, I think you're better scared than Kevin, but Kevin's got that shot, so it kind of compensates. You know what I mean? So he just has to get in position overall. On the other hand, you've got more speed, so you can get in position to make that play as well too. Just to go back over your stats here, for your D1 team, that's what you said. You've got 4 goals, 3 assists, 7 points in 4 games, and for your D2 team, Little Big Men, let's see here, you've got 3 goals and 7 assists for 10 points in 4 games. You're doing pretty well this season, and you had a great season last year as well too. Let's talk about those 2 teams. Let's talk about your D1 team and D2 team. D1 team, that's what you said. It's Patrick Riley's team that he brought in here. He added to the team as well too. One of probably the 2 favorites to win it's a very competitive division, but one of our 2 favorites to win in that division. Talk about that team and your thoughts about the chemistry there and your chance to win it this year.
So I don't know much of the guys there, other than obviously bringing Toby over and convincing him to join that team for the season with me. But also Pat is just a really fantastic, one of the nicest guys around. And then the guys that he's brought in, I think from the Laurel League. So I don't really know those guys well, but from the games that I've been able to play this season and see them, I mean, they're just all phenomenal players. I feel like when I've seen, I think like is it the Rough Riders or the Monarchs when they first came into the league and just kind of blew everybody away because they just had everybody who can keep up and be fast, make the tic-tac-toe plays and things like that. And, part of me felt like, wow, it'd be really fun to play on a team like that where like everybody's just able to, do great things. And I feel like this is that opportunity and certainly been really impressed with just the super high caliber of the guys on that team, and then obviously having Fez as the goalie is just such a solid kind of presence.
Back end, yep, exactly. Yeah, you guys are currently 4-2 record wise. Kevin climbs that 15 goals, no assists. So there it is. There, and I think Kevin will probably be opposing the center line offside. He's one of the guys who actually cheats and plays almost in the opposite zone only, but he's got 15 goals. Chuck Warner, 7 goals.
Definitely had like qualms with him before when I played against him, but with him.
Now you're playing with him, right?
Yeah.
7 goals, 5 assists for Chuck Warner. Evan Winstead, a great player, 3 goals, 11 assists. So a very, very deep team. And then you played this past Monday night, and Steve Willoughby, first game, he had 3 goals, 2 assists. So he can play out too. You got a pretty deep roster. Depends who shows up the playoffs, obviously, but if your roster shows up, you should have a good chance to win it, in my personal opinion as well too. Let's not talk about your D2 team, Little Big Men. The team that actually moved down. One was down the lower division, moved up last season. Won the lower division 2 seasons ago, moved up, and then moved down back again this season. To me, they're the favorite in D2 because they moved down and they have so much talent out there as well too. I think about Little Big Men. You've been there now for 2 seasons. Pretty much the same roster core, a light roster. Talk about that team and the team dynamics there.
Yeah, so it's just a really great team, been competitive in, whichever division that it's been part of, and it's bounced around, like you said, the last few seasons. But it's a great bunch of guys. I've gotten to know them actually from another pickup roller hockey game in the area over in Burrow Heights. There's an outdoor rink.
Yes, heard about that, yeah. Mm-hmm.
And so that group's been together for, I think, decades, actually. But at least this kind of crop of guys on Little Big Men, along with guys like David Boyer, has just been a really tight-knit group. And I think, it's just a lot of, fun. And I know you're big on kind of no drama.
Yes.
Right. The dynamics in the league. And I really feel like Little Big Men is such a good example of that. Everybody just loves to have fun. Play hard, but it's just a way to enjoy and get some exercise. So it's
perfect.
a lot of fun.
One player I want to ask you about, the new addition to this roster for this season, Joe Siegel.
Yeah.
And he's been lighting it up here. He's got 12 goals in 4 games. Again, a Kevin Klimek type player, no assist, 12 goals in 4 games. New player, skill set there, finisher. Your thoughts on Joe Siegel?
Yeah, so he's definitely a great addition. When I play against him, like in Berwyn Heights, I mean, it's just very frustrating because he can protect the ball or the puck like just so damn well. And obviously, when he's on your side, then it's only so helpful that he's able to, just put his natural finishing kind of goal scoring skills to use for your side.
Excellent. Good new player to your core, so that makes you another a big threat in this division. Let's go quick at the games from last night, from Monday night, okay? Yeah. And then you can share your thoughts to me on a certain team that you play in both divisions. You know most of the teams anyway. So I'm gonna go back to my phone schedule here. Little Big Man had the first game on Monday night. You guys beat Hurricanes. Battle for first place, the 2 top teams right now in that division. Dennis Owen had 5 goals, but you guys had balanced scoring, able to win that game. Your thoughts on the Hurricanes, the team you beat? They're going to be probably your top competitor if Dennis Owen is there for the cup here.
Yeah, they're a great team that also moved from Division 1.
That's correct. They dropped down as well too. Yeah.
Right. And so I mean they have the kind of the skill set to be able to take the crown, and so we figured it would be a competitive game. But I think it was interesting in that I think at one point we were up maybe like 7-2 or something like that. I mean, it was looking very comfortable, but then there was this just barrage of goals from them where they really just kept gunning for it and making it happen. But we just also had like a collapse for whatever reason there at the end that really could have turned ugly for us. But we were able to eke it out by just like 1 goal. It was the final score at like 7-6 or something like that.
Yeah, it was 8-6, and that secured your spot. You're still undefeated. You're 5-0-1 in first place, and that put them further back in second place. So great win for you on Monday nights. Talk about the other D2 game, teams you played against, the Wheelers, against the Stanley Capitals. Now, the Wheelers, to me, the team that, that when they have their players, like Kyle and Al and Tony, they're supposed to be up there with you guys, but they've had a kind of a rough season. Their players have missed games. They were actually 0-5, and I kept joking about them. Hey, I may have to demote you below D2. But they got their first win against Stanley Capitals 7-6, missing a lot of key players, but they got a big lead. They hung on for dear life, just like you did, and won 7-6. Your thoughts on the Wheelers and the Stanley Capitals? Capitals are a team you were on, I think, last year. With Andrew Anthony and the Kales brothers. Tell me about both those 2 teams and your thoughts on those 2 teams.
Sure. I think on the Stanley Capitals, obviously, I have a very soft spot for them because I really enjoyed playing with those guys too. And that's another really, I think, just very tight-knit team that is just out there to kind of have fun. And, the skill set that the players on that team have gained over the last few seasons is so noticeable. It's not like just kind of, over time, wow, like where did this come? It's just really like from game to game almost. You can see how just the skating has gotten better, the puck, kind of the situational awareness and the like have all gotten really great. And so it was a lot of fun to play with them last year, but then I guess trying to keep the team balanced, stick with the little big men this season, I had to leave that team. But just great to see the progress there. And I think in terms of the Wheelers, turns out actually one of my wife's friends, I guess, is dating Robert Kim. There.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah.
Like did you know that? Did you know that?
We just found out maybe, I don't know, like a month ago or something.
Wow,
so we actually had some folks over, my wife's coworkers, last weekend, and so Robert came over to my house and we hung out for a little bit, talked hockey, and it was just awesome. Like, holy cow, what a small world. The Wheelers have been there, I think, from the very first season of RHL too. So it's fun to play with those guys. I mean, I think filled in a couple of games before for them, and just a solid bunch of guys. I think is Kyle the guy that has like the skull on the jersey. Yeah,
he's their main scorer.
He's very hard to stop. I mean, he can just kind of blow through you.
When Kyle shows up and then when they have their full roster, they're going to be right there. Don't let the record fool you. This team is going to be a factor. Definitely. And about the Capitals, I agree with you. I mean, everybody's a soft for the Caps. I think everybody who plays in our league has a soft spot for the Capitals because these are guys who started. They weren't great skaters. They've improved so dramatically. Anthony Kalis. Okay, Anthony Kalis has got 5 goals and 2 assists this season. He, scoring goals for Anthony. Now I could never thought that, but he's improved so dramatically. He's scoring goals. Alex is scoring goals. Jeff Fab is scoring goals. So again, they're a team on the rise. They're playing well. And they're good guys. They just want to play, and they want to be competitive. So they are the ones that could be the X factor in this division. They can maybe be upset or two, but Wheelers are also there as well too. So it's a pretty good division from that standpoint. Let's talk about the other 2 games from that night, the D1 games. Your team beating the Rough Riders 6-1. The Rough Riders obviously not the same team that was there 2 seasons ago. They're having some injuries issues, so missing some players. Dan wasn't there, but still, when you beat a Jeff Minnie team, a Spike Cahill team, and Sean Klimzik was lights out. Sean Klimzik and net pretty much kept up with the game the first half.
Yeah.
And then you guys were able to break through second half and pull away to win 6-1. Your thoughts on the Rough Riders and that game in general?
Yeah, I mean, they are kind of the guys that set the bar with D1 a few seasons ago. And guys like, Jeff, I think Minnie is just another just really, just nice human being, just a great guy to talk to, in addition to just kind of wowing me every time I see him make the kinds of plays he does. It's just like, man, I don't know how you do it. So just a really impressive group of guys. I think the score definitely wasn't quite reflective of the actual dynamics. I mean, it was a lot closer game than the score indicates. And so, yeah, looking back, I mean, it's kind of surprising that, we won by what, 5 goals, you're saying?
6-1 final score.
Yeah, it was all very tight game. A lot of speed, a lot of crisp passing, great goaltending. I mean, I really felt like that was the kind of game that, you want to be part of, and that's why you play.
Excellent point. And again, Rough Riders, I believe, currently, I'll check the standard idea, but I think they're probably in 3rd place. They are in 3rd place. A team that when the playoffs come around, again, don't let the record fool you. Dan is going to be there. Jeff's going to be there, and a couple other guys that missed the games will be there, and they're going to be a factor as well, too. So it should be a fun playoff. I think it's, again, both divisions, I think it's like top 3 team heavy. And the 4 team in D2, the Capitals, maybe the one that could be the wild card, and the 4 team, your former team, Blades of Steel, in D1 could be the wild card as well too. So the last game of the night was the High Rollers against the Blades of Steel, the team that's currently in 1st place in your D1 division. They doubled up the Blades of Steel 10-5. And they are in 1st place. Now, let's talk about the High Rollers first, then about your other former team, Blades of Steel. Yep. High Rollers are a team that's basically the one you have to beat this season, in personal opinion. A team that Matt Morgan brought in. Well, lots of good, solid players as well, too. They've been your nemesis. You're 0-2 against it this season. Your thoughts on the High Rollers so far?
So it's kind of like the reverse of our game against the Rough Riders. I think in the 2 games that we lost to them, I feel like we were able to keep up pretty well. And so the scores and the losses don't quite fully reflect the tightness, I think, of the games that we've had. But at the end of the day,
2-goal affair or 1-goal affair, if I recall. One was empty net 2, I think. So you're right.
Yeah, exactly. And so I think both have been good games. It's just that we came out on the wrong side both times. And I mean, a loss is a loss and a win's a win. So I definitely tip my hat off to those guys. And I think it'll be interesting to see how we fare against them in the future. I mean, it will be, once again, very close. And again, I think like how our game with the Rough Riders went, it will be, I think, very fast-paced and, again, the kind of game that you want to see happen. I think
one of the edge the High Rollers have, obviously, everybody's got good goalies, but Stephen Dorsey and net for the High Rollers, definitely one of the top goals you'll see in roller anywhere. And he's been playing lights out. And I think a couple of games that you guys played against, he's been the star that's catch you, give him the win. So, but then again, you haven't had your full roster yet. So let's see what happens when you have your full roster and when you play again, and maybe the playoffs that make a difference as well too. But clearly, these 2 teams, your team and their team, are the favorites. The Rough Riders are right there as well too. But I think if I had to pick those 2 favorites, it'd be you 2 as well too. There you go. Right now, High Rollers in 1st place. They're 4-0-2. That's what you said. 2nd place at 4-2-0. Rough Riders 2-3-1 in 3rd, and the Blades of Steel currently in last. Little Big Men 5-0-1. Hurricanes in second place in D2 at 3-2-1. Stanley Capitals at 2-4-0, and the Wheelers currently in last in D2. Now, as the season progresses, you have 2 more weeks left to go in the season in the playoffs. I'm going to ask you one final question on both teams. Let's go to D1 first. Stick with that's what you said. What is the key to your team winning it all? Give me a key factor, a playing style, a player, or a philosophy to follow to win it all.
So I think it's kind of like the elections like yesterday. I mean, it's about turnout, I think, with that.
Excellent point. That's a great point.
So, I mean, Toby and I kind of joked about it because we have kind of the small subset of the full-time players in a halftime, and then we're like quarter time. Like, what is this? Like,
yes.
So there's a lot of names on that roster.
Right.
And I've been impressed with, like, whoever shows up. I mean, they all are just terrific players. But I think, the key will be having, I guess,
turnout.
Yeah, good turnout,
right.
for lack of a better word. And guys like, again, Fez obviously will be crucial in that. And then Evan Winstead, I really feel like he's just one of those just really good players.
Yes.
Kind of like Jeff. Like,
yes.
You just are very, you just learn by watching what they do and try to kind of, emulate them and, learn from it. I also feel like he's gone. He's not being as competitive as he totally could be. Like, he's making a lot of passing plays.
He's holding back a little bit. Yeah.
He's holding back. He's holding back. So I think
I agree with that.
If he wants to go 100%, then that will definitely, be absolutely tremendous in the playoffs.
There you go. So key factor for that's what you said is obviously turnout, players showing up for the playoffs, who's going to be there. Key factor for Little Big Men in D2. Now, you guys, to me, are the clear favorite in D2 because of your depth and scoring. What is going to be your key factor in D2? Same thing, turnout, or, I mean, you guys show up. Is there something else you can look for in D2, or is it going to be turnout again?
I think the goal scoring department, we have it covered, but defensively, I don't think have been as good as we could be. I think like the championship game last season, it was the defensive kind of collapse there that contributed to our loss there, and so it will just come down to our defense.
Excellent point. I think you guys have goal scoring as well too. If you come back and back check, limited chances. If you do that, you guys have goal scoring to win too. So great point there. Well, thank you for joining us, Jung. I thank you taking time for spending the entire podcast with us to give your thoughts as well too. Love seeing you. One of the great guys in RHL, folks. Quality human being and great player, and just a clean player as well too. So we love that. Thank you for playing in our league, and thank you for joining us. We'll see you on Monday nights.
All right. Thanks for the opportunity, Suz, and for everything that you do.
Anytime. Take care, folks, and take care, everybody else. Thank you for joining us as well too. We'll see you next week as well. Tune in to Roll With It and watch it on our YouTube channels and also on our Facebook Live as well too. Take care, folks.
All right. See you.